We're here talking about the Streisand effect. Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's what I thought you meant when you texted me earlier. No, today we're here talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect on Off Trail with Luke and Chandler. I'm Luke.
I'm Chandler.
And this is Off Trail. So, bit of a mix-up this morning when Chandler messaged me about what we should do on the podcast. I thought he meant something completely different.
Yeah, totally wrong.
Just different people. It's really all different names.
Yeah.
So
they're easy to confuse.
exactly.
Yeah.
You confuse people all the time.
Exactly.
But we're going to be talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
Exactly what that is, what it's looked like maybe in our situations, and how social media affects that, and how you can maybe take some steps to get over that and kind of push through it and avoid it. So
Yeah.
should be a good, informative episode for everyone listening at home. And if you are at home listening or watching this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's the best thing you can do for us. We really appreciate it. We've had some pretty good growth lately. It's been awesome to see. But we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button as well. Like the video, leave a comment if you want to leave us some feedback on this episode, because we're talking about some psychology stuff, and who are we to talk about that? But if you're listening to any of the audio-only versions that are out there, we're on all major podcasting platforms. So go find us there. Leave us a 5-star review, if you will, because we think we're really good, because we really have no talent at all. But that's just Dunning-Kruger effect for you.
Exactly.
So
How does this have any correlation to like a Freddy Krueger effect?
I don't know.
Oh, it might.
I'm not sure. But all I know, BDOTES, from my time in statistics, is that correlation does not equal causation.
Well, there we go.
That's all we need to know. So
I like it.
none of us becoming Freddy Krueger today. So Chandler,
No.
I'm going to hand it off to you here because you're the one that wanted to talk about this. I just asked you, hey, give me a photo topic that we can talk about.
Yeah.
And you texted me with this, whatever effect this is, and I want to kind of just pass it off to you. Introduce us to this topic and let us know what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so the Dunning-Kruger effect, it's something that I've kind of been thinking about a little bit over the last, 6 months or so. I saw another photographer do a video kind of touching on it, and I was like, that's kind of an interesting concept. But basically, so the Dunning-Kruger effect, if you don't know, is, I'm trying to think of how to really explain this, but essentially, the less experience you have and the less things that you know about a topic, the better you think you are, or, the more experience you think you have than you really do. And kind of your confidence in your abilities is a little bit higher than maybe it should be. And as you progress in that skill, or whatever that topic, or we'll say photography, it's like the more you progress in photography, the more you realize you don't know much, and you kind of it's kind of a you start learning how much you don't know, and so then your confidence goes down, and you start realizing like I have so much to learn, and I have so much that I can still get better at. So that's kind of the Dunning-Kruger effect, kind of in a nutshell. The newer you are, the more confidence you have because you know the basics, and you know how a camera works, so you're like, all right, I get depth of field, I get exposure, so like I've got this. This is good. This is easy. But then the more you start learning about photography, the more you realize, oh, there's so much more to this that I don't know, and yeah, it can kind of tank your confidence a little bit. But
Yeah, and this Dunning-Kruger effect, applies to everything, not just photo stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about it in terms of photography because that's something that we are heavily involved with, and we've all gone through with photography, so we can really talk about experience with it a lot. I think it's something that's really important to understand because as you get into, and again, with anything, you get into a new hobby, career, passion, whatever it is, you want to make sure you're trying to grow in the right ways and continue growing. And a lot of times, if you go into it right away, you learn these few basic things, and now you think you're on top of the world, your growth gets stunted.
Yeah.
And you kind of just stay put for a long time, if not forever, if you never figure this out. But as you keep going, it's another thing. Yeah, you learn a couple things, you feel like you know too much, but once that door opens again, you're like, wow, there's actually a lot more here. It offers up more room for you to grow, which is like the benefit of realizing where you're at.
yeah. It kind of you almost fall into like an accurate understanding of where you're at skill wise, which I think is really cool. And I think I've definitely dealt with this a lot through my entire through my photography career. I got into it and I was like, oh, I get this. This is pretty good. And I started taking photos, posting it on social media and whatnot. And I got to a point where like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, where I was getting a lot of attention on social media.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, and like I was just getting thousands of followers, one, just after another, and
He's so cool.
so cool. Yeah, I had a couple reels that went really, they popped off, went viral. He had just under 1 million views and all this. I was like, man, I'm pretty dang good. And I had a little bit of a moment there where I was like, I've got this. Like
he was feeling himself.
I was feeling pretty good about things.
But don't worry, I'm always here to tear him back down.
Which it's
Me too.
It's my primary function in life, to be honest.
dude. I love, by the way, just reading comments on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
People are always like, man, they just put Chandler through the ringer
Every day.
every episode.
It's not even just the podcast, it's every day.
It's every day. Yeah, it's all day, every day.
Just trying to keep him humble.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Because of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Exactly.
Yes.
Full circle.
Exactly. So if you wonder why I get bullied, it's
I wouldn't call it bullying. That's a negative connotation.
But yeah, it's interesting being at the point I am now, looking back to that period in my life where I was taking those photos and I was getting a lot of attention. Like I look back at the photos that I was taking, I was like, man, I knew very little, and I was not as good as I was thinking I was. Some of the photos, they still hold up. There's some of them that I have, in my portfolio and stuff. Some of them I really like, but for the most part, I'm like, man, I really didn't really know what I was doing. And I was just kind of, I don't know. I don't really know what the word is for it, but like I was just not very good, I guess.
Well,
So,
no, but I think there's something to this, right? And I've seen the same thing in volleyball when I'm coaching. As you're learning new skills, you kind of stumble into a new field and you find some success, and you may not have intended for it, right? Because you look back at all those photos you're talking about, and they are good photos. They're
Yeah.
great photos. They're still better than a lot of what you see on a daily basis, But as you're growing, a lot of what becomes like your success initially is kind of more like luck. It's you're trying things and you're just like, oh, you hit it this time, right?
Yeah.
And then as you go, you start to just realize what makes you hit that more and more, and you start to hone in on that.
Yeah.
But this is where we're talking about with the Dunning-Kruger effect. You start to figure out what works, and you're like, this is it. I'm doing it. I've made it, right? But there's more levels that you can go with it. And if you just get stuck in this one frame of mind thinking, I found what works, you're not going to take those other steps.
Yeah.
Where that's where, like you, and this is, again, a great example with you. Across the entire time I've known you, you've always been learning more and more and more. And as you keep searching more things, you're like, oh, there's something here I could go. There's more out here I could grasp for, right? So you try some new things, and you start that whole cycle over again.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're talking about. It's kind of like the idea of going up in like hills and valleys, right? You go up a little bit, you come back down just a little bit less. You go up more, and then you come down. Up more, and come down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like a gradual process of give and take, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, just to keep making progress in your work.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think is kind of cool about photography is there is so much. Like it's a really expansive field. And, again, at this point, the only experience that I had was mainly in like landscape photography, and a little bit of like lifestyle stuff here and there. But like I hadn't even been doing commercial photography full time yet. And so I had this like little limited amount of knowledge. And once I started doing commercial work, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much, especially when you start getting into like lighting, for example, and, posing for like products and stuff and lifestyle shoot. Like there's so much in each one of those little spheres of photography. Then it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything, and it makes it really fun and it's really exciting, but it can be frustrating because there are those hills and, I still go through it today, even with landscape photography. So, we'll go out. Actually, a good example of this is back in August, I went out on a little solo trip to southern Utah, hit like Bryce Canyon and Zion in a couple places, and I got home and I was like, oh, these are good. Like I got some really good photos on this trip. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh, dang it, like I missed opportunities on these photos because I messed up these different things, and it's like I was all excited about them, and now when I look back, I'm like, they're not as good as I could have made them because I didn't do these things. So it makes a really good learning experience, but then it also can be kind of discouraging. So it's kind of, you have to figure out how to manage that, and yeah, that's a whole thing. But
yeah, and that's just the normal process of how you're getting better.
Yeah.
You know, everyone goes through that. I've been through that. BDOTES, I'm assuming you've been through that. You know, I've been through it in volleyball as well.
He's
Like,
perfect. He doesn't.
yeah, BDOTES is perfect.
That's correct.
But like everyone goes through it. You know, like it's not something that you should be afraid of or shy away from. You know, it's okay to have a little confidence going into something and feeling like you have made some headway there and you're getting better. And even at some point that you think you're really good, you know, because I tell you this all the time. Like, I feel good about my work. I know it's good. Now, I'm at the point I just don't really care what other people think about it or my career goals with it. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not playing that game anymore. But it's okay to feel good about your work. But if you come into it, especially when you're at the very beginning and you think, oh, I'm at the same level as everyone else here, it's like, no, you're not.
No, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people we know, we've seen on Instagram. It's like, it's just proof like there's levels to this.
Yeah.
You know, but it takes a long time to get there and to learn all these things.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it takes time to realize what the levels are. And I feel like, you know, we kind of touched on this a little bit in one of our previous episodes, but I feel like Instagram and social media just in general has kind of diminished the expected quality of photography work in a lot of people, just because, one, there's so much of it, and then there's so many people who get in and they're really active in the first, 1 to 3 years of doing photography. They're really, really active on social media. They're excited about photography, and they're in a kind of a mediocre or like amateur phase, but they think are really good because they get a lot of attention from, social media, a lot of likes, a lot of comments and stuff. And that doesn't mean that they have necessarily bad work. But that just means that they have limited experience in the field, and you don't really know what the different levels are at that point.
Yeah.
So,
But I think the easiest way you can kind of combat that is just look around,
Yeah.
Think about all the people we know. Like, this is, again, I know I can say I'm a good photographer, right? Because I'm confident in my work and everything.
and
but,
you are, yeah.
But like, I look around, like, I can name you a handful of people off the top of my head. I'm like, this person's better. This person's better.
Yeah.
This person's better. And I see things every day that I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. You have to really be conscious of that and look around and be like, okay, I need to take stock of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And, I can figure out how to keep getting better if that's what your goal is.
Yeah.
But I want to move into this a little bit here because you talked about, how you haven't had an experience, before you got into commercial photography. You didn't really understand there's all these other things you didn't know about yet, right? That's because, at least for your situation, many people that we probably hang out with, they're in this bubble of social media.
Yeah.
Right? And social media is a perfect example of everything wrong with what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just, it's a place where everyone's just handing out compliments left and right. They're very uncritical. Now, you can say that's supportive and that's great.
Yeah.
But like realistically, if you're talking about how good of a photographer you are or want to be, a lot of times that's probably not the best place to go.
No. Yeah.
So give me a few points, Chandler, on how social media is detrimental to your progress and kind of creates this whole Dunning-Kruger effect.
Well, so I think you kind of said it a little bit, social media and specifically Instagram as well, it really does exist like in a bubble. There's this, you have a lot of like landscape, adventure, influencery type of photography. And a lot of the people who are active on social media in the photography sphere are kind of chasing that. I want to be a travel photographer. I want to be a travel influencer adventure photographer. And so that's really like all a lot of people are exposed to in the Instagram sphere, at least. But like there's a whole world of photography that exists outside of Instagram. There's all these photographers that are doing their things and they are working full time. They're professional photographers who really don't use Instagram or social media that much. Obviously in today's day and age, you have to use it to market your business and things like that. But that's besides the point. But it's really important to look outside of the sphere of Instagram and see what other people are doing, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and I think there's two good examples of maybe people who have not caved into this, at least at the very moment. One, I think, is our buddy Bryce Doherty.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we made the point, I think it was the last podcast, he's not very active on social media. And part of that is because he doesn't need to be on social media.
No, yeah.
He's just a pro. He's so good at what he does that he makes a living doing it, and he has no need to show anything off on social media. He just doesn't need it.
Yeah.
And another one is our good buddy Nimit. He told me today or yesterday, I forget which it was, that he had deleted the app.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his account's still going, but he's just deleted the app. He's like, I'm not even on there now. And I'm
That's
like,
funny, I didn't know
dude,
that.
good for you, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
But he sells prints and stuff.
He sells prints. He doesn't need it.
Yeah.
But he's also like, he knows who he is. He knows his worth, and like, he's not looking to social media for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's happy with who he is and what he's doing. And that's, again, if you want to be on social media, great, do that. But like, if you don't need it, then you should feel like it's okay to step back.
Yeah,
from
and
time
like
to time.
social media, if you want to be like a landscape photographer, social media or being big on social media isn't the only way to go about it. Because I mean, a good example of this, one of my favorite things to do is to go up to Park City and walk Main Street and hit all the photo galleries. There's a bunch of great photo galleries up in Park City Main Street, and one day a couple years ago, I was up there. I was like, I wonder how much. We were in one particular gallery. I was like, I wonder how many followers this guy has. He's a huge gallery, right? And he's like got all these incredible images. He's one of the best photographers I've ever seen. And I pull up his Instagram, and he's got like, I don't know, 2,000 followers. He's like tiny little following on Instagram. But he's got this gallery space in Park City. I just saw on social media he's setting up one in like, I don't know, Italy or something like that. And the dude has like a tiny little following on it. Like, 'cause none of his work or none of his business comes from Instagram, because there's so much of a world that exists outside of Instagram.
Yeah, and it's just, I think, another good example of how, like, chasing the followers, chasing the likes, the comments, the shares, all that stuff, like, to some point, it's meaningless.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that has no determination how good of a photographer you are.
Yeah.
And I think great example in this room, I don't know where you're at with followers, BDOTES. Where are you at?
I think I hit 950 today.
Yeah. So you're at like 12,000. You're at basically 1,000, we'll call it, and I'm like 600 or something.
Yeah.
Right? There is no determination in that, if you look at it, of how good you are. Because a lot of yours just came from bots from those reels.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all it is, You just probably don't get out and shoot enough to really get the exposure.
Yeah. Well, and like I've noticed, I average maybe 70 likes
Yeah.
per photo.
Yeah. And
Maybe
it's-
just people don't like me.
No, BDOTES, we love you.
We love it.
But it's like realistically, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. And I think of a handful of other people that have maybe a couple thousand or even lower than I am.
Yeah.
And they're great photographers.
Yeah.
Like the amount of followers you have is by no means indicative of your worth or your value or your skill
Yeah, definitely not.
in this game.
Yeah.
Because we see people all the time too have massive accounts, and all they do is just put up stupid little iPhone reels or iPhone photos, and it's like anyone can do that.
Yeah.
But here we are, we're hiking up a mountain with thousands of dollars of expensive camera gear to go get a single photo.
Yeah.
And we get 70 likes on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I've come to terms, like, I don't even care anymore. Like, I like this picture. I'm going to post it. If people like it, great.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is it's like, I have the following that I have, about 12,000 followers, but like my photos, if we're breaking down like in like reach or whatever, I don't know, sometimes they reach 500 people. And like, but I've also I've never gotten any work really from social media. Like I've never really tried to,
Besides those bots that want to make the murals out of your photos.
Yeah, just yeah.
But everyone's getting those. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. It depends. It really depends on like what you're chasing too. It depends on what you're doing. If you are really just wanting to be like a photography influencer, if that's your career path, if that's what you want to do, go for it. You have to be quite shameless to do that. But
yeah, I just want to be some bot account's muse. It's really all I want.
that's it.
I have a good handful of like Bitcoin investment
Do you?
accounts that follow me.
I knew you had
Yeah.
some shady business dealings over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got NFT bots messaging me every day. Like, I want to buy this picture. Is it available as an NFT?
Oh, yeah.
My favorite is when people are like, not even people, bots are like, did you take this picture? It is very beautiful. I'm like, I did not. I don't know where this came from.
Yeah, but again, we're all talking about this stupid thing that happens on social media. It's a twisted game with bad incentives that pushes people to chase things that just aren't worth it.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And so we've all been through this. Let's talk a little bit, Chandler, about how you can kind of get past this and see things for what they are and kind of push through and avoid any of these pitfalls.
Yeah. Well, I think first off, it's important to really note and keep in mind that if you want to make it as a photographer full time. And this is coming from somebody who still is like, yeah, I might do this full time, but I don't feel like I've made it yet. I'm still trying to build this career. But from my experience, if you want to make it as a photographer, you don't have to play the Instagram game. You don't have to do it all on social media. In fact, my entire photography career has pretty much not been built on social media. Like I learned everything from just doing it hands-on and like getting the experience and working for a company to, doing all this.
And learning from me.
And learning from you, yes. But I think that's the first thing is just you don't have to do the social media game. You don't have to try to be a photography influencer. You can just be a photographer. If you want to post your photos on social media, post your photos on social media. But realize that there are other ways to go about doing it. So,
Yeah, I think along those lines, social media, it can be useful to you.
Yeah.
I mean, case in point, it's how we met.
Yeah.
It's how all of us met.
Yeah.
The entire community that we've built up through Bushwhackers was met through Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's like you can do all of this.
Yeah, we're
And-
not saying social media is bad.
No,
So-
but you have to approach it in the right way.
Yeah.
And I think the point that I'd like to bring up, how you can kind of, work around this and avoid these pitfalls, is to find someone, again, is the perfect example is you and me. Find someone who you not only you trust, but two, you also like know will give you very serious feedback about your work.
Yeah.
If you're intent on getting better. Again, with you and me, there's no better example because we live together all the time with the computer and be like, hey, how's this photo look?
Yeah.
And obviously I'm joking half the time because I'm trying to put you down a little bit.
Well, that's why I never send my stuff to him. I only send it to you, just
Yeah,
because I
you know
know
what's up, BDOTES.
Yeah.
But
Just kidding. I send Chandler
You
a
say you
healthy
send me
amount.
stuff,
Yeah.
but like the example I'm trying to point out here is with you and me, we've grown a lot together through the photography game, and we both respect each other's work greatly and our knowledge of the processes, not only of shooting but of post processing and all that stuff. And so if I asked you for an opinion on my work, or you vice versa, we've done this many times. Like if I say something that, I point something out that is wrong or bad about your photo, you're like, oh, wow, okay, that must actually be pretty bad. Because if he's giving me some real feedback like that, that means he's serious.
Yeah.
And like, think about it too, like, from this perspective. If you're going out finding friends, like say like us three, dude, like we're good friends. Like if you really want good, serious feedback, I'm going to give it to you. Like if your photo's bad, you're not going to like to hear what I have to say.
That's what good friends do.
But that's what good friends are for.
Yeah.
Like your good friend is going to make sure like you are actually progressing and keeping to a certain standard, right? That's why I put you down all the time, right? but a good friend is going to be the person that is actually going to make sure you are trying to keep improving in the ways that you should be and not slacking off, doing bad things, like whether it's photography or in life, doesn't matter. That's what good friends are for. And that's like especially how you and me have grown through this process and gotten to where we are today. Because we've
Yeah.
had so much time together that we've been able to really give each other the feedback that is necessary for that kind of growth.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've got to find people who are willing to be able to give you good constructive feedback. So, or else you're just not going to like. It's hard to give it to yourself. You can, like that's something that luckily I'm pretty good at is giving myself constructive feedback. Sometimes to a fault, maybe, but it's really, really important to find somebody who will do that with you. So you have to like find somebody who you feel is maybe at a level better than you are, a little level higher than you.
Is this you admitting that I'm better than you?
No, absolutely not.
I just wanted that on record, just in case.
That is not what this is.
But no, like you're right, because like you could, and I'll tie this back into social media here, but you could show your family or just your casual friends, and they're gonna just tell you it looks great because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
Right. Or you go on social media, you could pretty much post anything you want, and you're gonna see fire, awesome photo,
Yeah.
love this, and
Yeah.
it's like no one actually like really means it.
Yeah.
Like sure, it's probably a good photo, whatever.
Yeah.
If you got a good account, like yeah, it's probably a good photo. But no one's actually gonna be like, oh, like hey, you should try this next time,
Yeah.
because that's not what Instagram is for.
Yeah.
Instagram's for is propping everyone up, making each other feel good.
Yeah.
While that can be beneficial to some people, like if you're trying to grow, you got to try to escape that
Yeah.
to some degree.
Especially if you're trying to grow. So I mean, it's fine. If you're just doing photography for fun, it's a hobby, and you're in it for the good time. Whatever, that's fine. But yeah, if you're trying to grow and if you're trying to be a good photographer, if you're trying to improve your craft, you have to be critical. You have to find somebody who's going to give you that criticism.
Yeah, and I think that is a good segue into at least the final point that I'd like to make, or that I had thought of for this episode, which is to really know what you're chasing.
Yeah.
And like what you're trying to do with your work. And again, I will offer myself as a perfect example of this. I've essentially given up. And I don't care anymore. I mean, I just posted content from Thanksgiving meal.
Bro, but it was the best
It was
Thanksgiving meal I've ever
Thanksgiving
seen.
content.
Yeah.
But like,
Nobody else is out there posting
no, I mean,
Thanksgiving
I basically,
bangers.
I'll say, made a name for myself with landscape photography. And here
Yeah.
I am posting pictures of turkey dinner.
Yeah, and your
And
dog.
BB guns.
Yeah,
BB
I mean,
guns, yeah.
like, you know, it's just one of those things.
Okay, but those pictures of Deke are...
I got more you haven't seen yet.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so
yeah, I
excited.
got some good ones.
Yeah.
But again, I've kind of just like, you know what? I'm done. Like, but that's partly because I've realized, like, one, photography is not really what I'm chasing anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care enough about it to keep trying to learn and to grow. I'm satisfied with where I'm at. I'm satisfied with what I've achieved. And it's like, you know, I'm trying to pursue other things now.
Yeah.
Like more and more every day, I am trying to like let go of the title or the identity of photographer.
Yeah.
And it's like, so for me, posting on social media now, it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to post whatever I want.
And it kind of makes it fun.
It does.
So-
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I actually enjoy being on Instagram again.
I'm saying it makes you enjoy doing photography.
Absolutely.
So when there's not that much pressure, it's...
Yeah, like
much
I'm
more
not
fun.
trying to prove anything anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling, you
Yeah.
know? And not everyone's going to be that way. Again, you're still trying to make sure you have a really good representation of landscape or anything you want to get into. And so it's a different game that
Yeah.
we're playing now. But you have to know what game it is you are trying to be involved with.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you can take a healthier approach towards it and to try and achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, it's funny because we're kind of in opposite camps on this, because you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know?
like, here's some turkey.
Yeah. Some turkey
Here,
and my
here are
dog.
my little cousins.
Some great photos, though. Not going to lie.
They were great.
They really are.
Little Dorothy's cute.
Yeah. But I'm kind of in the opposite camp where it's like I have all these hopes and dreams and aspirations. Stuff. Like I would love to do.
I have no hopes anymore.
Yeah, you're a hopeless lost cause.
Hopeless.
What are you grinning at?
I'm just observing.
But like, you know, I have all these things that I want. You know, my dream would be to be a full-time landscape photographer. You know, that would be my absolute dream to do that. You know, like to lead workshops.
Good.
and do
Let's
all
make
stuff.
that happen so you can not be my podcast co-host anymore.
Is that what happens?
I think it might be what happens.
Dang it.
When you make it, you're done on this show.
All right, fine.
So think carefully about what you want.
All right, I'll think carefully.
That's why Luke's given up. He just wants to maintain his spot over there.
Oh,
This is my priority now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just being removed.
Slowly,
Yeah,
but surely.
that's what. Oh, I see. I see what's happening. But no, like I would love to be able to do that full time, and I would love for that to just be what I do. I like my dream has always been to have like my own gallery space. You know, like these guys up at Park City. Like that would be my absolute dream. But realistically, that's really, really hard to do. And that is a game that I'm not sure that I am willing to be able to do. So like I have to like come to terms with like, do I really want that bad that I do all that hard work to be able to do that? And maybe I do. I don't really know yet. Like I'm still in this phase where I'm trying to just get better. I'm just trying to be the best landscape photographer that I can be. And while doing that, I have to still try to be a photographer in other aspects. So I have to learn how to be a professional photographer in the commercial world. And so it's like trying to make landscapes, still take them seriously, but then also realize that it's like kind of a hobby still, you know. It doesn't make money in YouTube. So it's like, it's mainly for fun. But, yeah, I'm really just in this spot where like I'm just trying to be as good as I can get. So mainly for professional reasons. So
Yeah, and you touched on something else there too that I kind of reverting back to a little bit here. But along the same lines of finding someone who can critique your work and stuff is to find people who can expose you to new things.
yeah.
I was
yeah.
actually just talking with our buddy Saul Flores about this because he is taking a photography class at the U, and I mean he's an amazing photographer.
I'm like, why is he taking a class? He
Exactly,
should be
and
teaching it.
we talked about that exact thing. Like, you know, guys like us, like we'd be like, yeah, we don't need to take a photography class, but nonetheless, like we're talking about, and there are still things in that class that he can learn, and but maybe one of the other things is get exposed to that he wouldn't normally otherwise. I mean, he's he's mainly a street guy, so he takes a lot of street photos, working in whatever kind of light situation he's got. But in the class, you know, he got exposed to some film photography, like on big cameras. He got exposed to some lighting techniques, and all that's
Exposed.
that's a BDOTES joke for you there. But like he got exposed to some of these things that he wouldn't normally get the chance to, and in doing so, he got to learn a little bit more about photography and the intricacies of how everything works together.
Yeah.
And so now maybe he doesn't get to have strobes out in the middle of the street when he's shooting, right? But he can understand how to look for lighting different ways now, and how it can kind of bounce off things and, you know, highlight features on someone's face or on a building. And now he can take that knowledge, and to some degree, it will improve his game.
Yeah.
And he's going to be better for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, unless you can find a class like that, or find, again, I offer up, if anyone wants to go out and shoot, I will go shoot with anyone. If you want to talk about portraits or landscapes, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, find someone that can teach you something about it and actually learn from them.
Yeah, and all these different skills, that's one thing that's really cool about photography is all these different skills can work together with each other. So like working as a studio product photographer, you know, I was having to learn about strobes and lighting and how to get good lighting on people's faces and like products and everything like that. All of that knowledge that I got from working with lighting bled over into landscapes. So now I look at lighting on landscapes so differently. And it's completely changed how I shoot landscape photography, from studio product photography to landscape photography. Like even that is intertwined.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's another good example. My post today, I had my dog in it, run through the woods, and I believe there was a photo of my dad and my brother on a little balcony. If not, it's going to be on the next set, or some set soon, so hold out for that. But if you look closely, my dad is up on this little like wooden platform, and on his glasses, there's a reflection of the sun up there. And that was on purpose. Yeah. Like I made sure I had the right angle and waited for him to be in the right position to get that on his glasses. But it's stuff like that that if you're not thinking about, you're going to miss. Yeah. And that glasses trick is something I do a lot. You know, if I'm out, people have sunglasses, I'm like, hey, look this way. I'm going to be over here. And
you've done it with me a couple times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's something like if you don't get exposed to some of these different ideas or lighting techniques, whatever it is, you're just always going to miss because you don't know it's even a thing to look for. Yeah. Just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, maybe a key takeaway from this is like, while there is a lot that you can learn from observing photos on social media and talking with other photographers through like Instagram, for example, like I learned a ton. Like I'm a very visual learner. So just by looking at other people's photos on Instagram, I can kind of figure out what's going on. I'm like, I like this look. I like what they're doing with this, like the way that they're handling their highlights in this photo. It like, there's a lot of things that I learned just from observing images. But unless you really like learn, I'm not saying you have to go take a photography class, but unless you really like try to learn, you're not. So there's too much. So
yeah, and I think another, again, finding all these different examples now that I'm really thinking about this, but another one too is when you're out shooting, like, don't settle for something just because like that's what you normally would do. Yeah. And again, you can attest to this when I've been out shooting. If I'm trying to pose you up for a portrait shot, I'll be figuring out where I'm going to be, and if I don't like it, I'll be like, it's not it. Yeah. And I literally will just keep either trying to find it or I'll just give up, like, hey, it's not going to work right now. Yeah. But like I'm searching for the photo and not like a photo. Yeah. And a lot of times if you think you're good enough already, you're just getting a photo. Yeah. You're not trying to get the photo that's going to really make your work stand out.
Yeah. Learn to be picky.
Yeah.
You have to, I mean, that is a key. That's a real, that's one thing that I've learned is one of the most important attributes that you can have as a photographer is to be extremely picky and to be extremely detail oriented. In every type of photography, it doesn't matter if it's landscapes or product or lifestyle or anything like that. I mean, you gotta think about it too. A lot of like really high-end product photographers, they will bring, let's say, like a bottle into a product shoot, and they'll set it up with their lights and everything like that, and they will spend a good amount of time just making sure that the lighting is right, and then they'll take one photo because they have to make sure that everything is totally perfect before they take the image, and then they take the photo, and then they spend an hour, 2 hours just processing the photo because they know they got the shot and they need to edit the shot. Like they know exactly what they're looking for, and they're being extremely meticulous and picky about it.
Yeah.
So
Now there's
and that's one photo. That's taking
Yeah.
hours for one photo.
Now there's a fine line too between making sure you get out and shoot a lot, because that's part of
And that is part of it
growth
too,
as well.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's a fine line. You know, go out and shoot a lot, and then get picky about it. You
Yeah.
know, and then do the process over again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, I know there's a lot to this whole idea of learning and trying to figure out where you're at with stuff, taking stock of your skill level and trying to keep growing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's seriously, it's just an endless game that
Yeah.
you're going to play for the rest of your life. If whatever field you're going into, you know, again, I had the same thing when I was in volleyball.
Yeah.
You know, for a little while, I thought I was hot shit. I was like, I am a great coach. And then I read one line in Jocko Willink's book, and I was like, I got a lot of work to do. You know, it's stuff like that. Like, you're going to go through these phases
Yeah.
where you think you're really good, and then you kind of realize, like, oh,
Yeah.
man, I'm not.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing.
It is a
and
good
that's
thing.
how you should approach it.
Yeah. And it can be really frustrating, but yeah, it is a
Yeah.
really good thing.
Like, you should never want to feel like you're the best one.
yeah.
Like, you should always be finding other people, surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you grow and can be role models for you to try to become more like.
Yeah. It's like that whole concept of you never want to be the smartest person in the room. You always want to be the dumbest person in a room. You know?
That, or like, you know, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around the most.
Yeah.
That's why my photography sucks so much, because I'm with Chandler all the time. But no, I think that's really all I got for today. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. Yeah.
BDOTES, over to you.
I don't have anything.
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was a good talk.
Yeah.
I think give us some more time. We think of even more things to add to this.
There's a lot to talk about with this topic, but
Yeah, you know, it's all psychology, you know, diving into our brains.
Yeah.
But
And we're not psychologists, but
no.
you know, I was going to school for psychology for
Yeah.
like a little bit.
Then you dropped out, become a photographer.
Yep.
How's that going?
It's going.
But speaking of diving into things, we are going to dive in now to our final segment that we have been ending every episode since we've gotten into Studio B here.
Yeah.
In the back of the table here, we got some items that make up a little, you know, background for us here. Every episode, we're adding one item to the table. They could be little trinkets or whatever, some kind of meaning or connection to what we're talking about. Doesn't matter. But we're going to add one more item to the table today. Chandler, what do you have for us?
So I have something that actually kind of goes along with our topic of Instagram, and you could say it goes along with Instagram bangers,
Oh, my God.
because we got the OG Bushwhacker banger alarm, which was a prop that we bought for one skit that we used. Or that
We've
we
never
did.
used it since.
We literally, got it for one skit. We had all these plans for it, and we just never really did anything. But this is the banger alarm.
That one video we did was great, though.
It was great. It was awesome. Yeah, maybe we should repurpose that, bring it back to
We'll
life.
figure something out.
Yeah.
We may have to do an episode where we find people's pictures, throw them up on the screen, hit the.
Because this is a banger alarm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a banger idea right there.
I'd
Vito's.
say, yeah.
Should we hit the alarm right now for that?
Yeah.
No,
it's
it's
not
not
plugged
plugged
in.
in, so we can't do that.
But yeah, this is what we're adding to the table today. So the banger alarm, which is just a little random siren that we got on like Amazon or something.
I think we could do a whole episode on the idea of bangers.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good ad. Yeah, it's kind of symbolic of what we're talking about. Of, you know, find those bangers, but you know, also realize not everything's a banger. You know, and you gotta figure out what it's going to look like to make really good photos
yeah.
consistently, not just like, oh, this one's also amazing. It's like, probably not.
Yeah. There's this topic that's been going around a little bit on social media actually about the idea of not or avoiding banger hunting, as Peter McKinnon coined it. You know, like not everything has to be a banger. So,
Well, that's all I'm hunting for these days.
well, you take great Thanksgiving bangers. So
That's what I do best.
you're the Thanksgiving photographer.
Someone's got to do it.
I'm going to hire you for my next Thanksgiving meal.
I am available for Thanksgiving, everyone. If you guys want to hire me out.
Yep,
My rates are steep, though.
they are.
So
But
No.
that's because the content,
that's because the content's
great.
fire.
yeah.
And because on Thanksgiving he comes hungry. So
Exactly. I got to eat.
Yep.
Growing boy.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a great add to the table today. If you're listening at home and would like to send us something to throw on the table, we'd be happy to put it up here. That's kind of what we want to do. No one's actually, only Courtney's given us something so far. But if you're out there listening, please send us something. Try to keep it a little smaller because we have only so much space back here.
Mm-hmm.
But though I might break that rule in a little while once I get my item from Georgia. But
This mystery item. Yeah.
Yes. But if you want to send us something, please do. We'd love to put it up here and give you a shout out. So
Yeah.
I think with that, we're going to end the episode today. Unless you guys got one last comment.
I got nothing.
Nope.
All right. That's all we got, guys. We'll see you later.
See ya.